And we're going to continue on in the Apocrypha. This is the book of Judith, chapter 15, verse 8. Then Joachim, the high priest, and the senate of the Israelites, who lived in Jerusalem, came to witness the blessings which the Lord had confirmed upon Israel, and to see Judith, and to greet her. And that when they went to see her, they all blessed her with one accord, and said to her, "You are the exaltation of Jerusalem. You are the great glory of Israel, and you are the great boast of our nation. You have done all this with your hand, and you have done Israel good, and God is well pleased with it. The omnipotent Lord bless you forever." And all the people said, "Be it so." And all the people plundered the camp for 30 days. And they gave Judith the tent of Holofernes and all his silver dishes and his beds and his bowls and all his furniture. And she took them and put them on her mule. And she harnessed her wagons and piled them on. And all the women of Israel came to see her. And they blessed her and made a dance in her honor. And she took branches in her hand and gave them to the women that were with her. And they crowned themselves with olive, she and the women with her. And she went before all the people in the dance, leading all the women. And all the men of Israel in their armor, with garlands and with the songs on their lips. And Judith began this thanksgiving before all of Israel. And all the people loudly sang this song of praise. And Judith said, "Begin to play unto my God with trampolines. Sing unto my Lord to the sounds of cymbals. Raise him and praise for him. Exalt his name and call upon it. For the Lord is a God that shatters wars. For he brought me into his camp in the midst of the people, rescuing me from the hands of my pursuers. Assyria came from the north out of the mountains. He came with myriads of his host. Their multitude blocked up the torrents, and their cavalry covered the hills. He said he was going to burn up my borders and kill my young men with the sword, and throw my babies upon the ground, and take my children as spoils, and my girls as plunder. The Lord Almighty brought them to naught by the hand of a woman, for their champion did not fall at the hands of young men. The sons of the Titans did not strike him down, nor the tall giants set upon him. But Judith, the daughter of Merari, made him faint with the beauty of her face. And she took off her widow's mourning to lift up those who were in distress in Israel. She anointed her face with ointment, and she arranged her hair in a headdress, and put on a linen dress to deceive him. Her sandal ravished his eye, and her beauty captivated his soul. The Shemitah passed through his neck. Persians shuddered at her daring, and Medes were daunted at her boldness. Then my oppressed people cried out. My weak people were terrified and cowered down. They lifted up their voices and turned to flee. The sons of their maidservants stabbed them and wounded them like runaway children. They perished before the army of my Lord. I will sing to my God a new song. Lord, you are great and glorious, wonderfully strong and unconquerable. Let all your creation serve you. But you forspoke, and they were created. You sent forth your spirit, and it formed them. And there was no one that can resist your voice. For mountains will be moved from their foundation like waters, and rocks will melt like wax before you. But to those who fear you, you will continue to show mercy. For any sacrifice for a fragrant odor is a small thing, and any fat for a whole burnt offering is insignificant in your sight. But he that fears the Lord is great forever. Alas for the heathen that rise up against my nation. The Lord Almighty will take vengeance on them in the day of judgment, to apply fire and worms to their bodies, and they will feel them and wail forever. When they reached Jerusalem, they worshiped God, and when the people were purified, they offered their whole burnt offering and their freewill offering and their gifts. And Judith dedicated to God all the dishes of Holofernes, which the people had given her, and the canopy which she had taken for herself from his bedchamber. She gave as a gift to God. And the people continued to celebrate in Jerusalem before the sanctuary for 3 months, and Judith stayed with them. After those days, everyone traveled back to his own inheritance. And Judith returned to Bethulia and remained on her estate. And she was famous all over the land in her time. Many men desired to marry her, but no man had relations with her. For all her life long, from the day Manasseh her husband died and was gathered to his people, she became greater and greater, and she grew old in her husband's house until she was 105. She set her maid free and died in Bethulia, and they buried her in the cave of her husband Manasseh. And the house of Israel mourned for her 7 days. Before she died, she divided her property among all the nearest relations of her husband Manasseh, and her own nearest relatives. No one could terrify the Israelites in Judah's days, not for a long time after she died. Now that's the book of Judith in the Apocrypha. The Pope took the Apocrypha out of the Bible, decanonized it in 1649. And in 1611, King James of England paid scribes to translate the Bible into Old English. So in 1611, the Bible had the Apocrypha in it, the Old English version that King James first came out with, that he paid scribes to translate the Bible in Hebrew, Greek, and Chaldean. The Bible's written in 3 different languages. Now, the next book we're going to cover is the additions to the book of Esther. Now, the book of Esther, half of it is still in the Bible, and the back half of the book of Esther was decanonized by the Pope in 1649. So half of the book of Esther is in the Bible even to this day, and the other half of the book of Esther is right here. We're fixing to start it right now. So this is the book of Esther, the additions to the book of Esther. The Old Testament book of Esther is like Judith, a romantic story of how a Jewess saved her threatened people by charming a powerful enemy. But it is far less permeated with piety. The name of God does not occur in it. And the 6 pieces presented here, which are included in the Greek text in appropriate points as indicated in the marginal numeration. Particularly the prayers attributed to Esther and the acknowledgement of divine help attributed to Mordecai, and look as if they had added in order to amend the secular tone of the book. The fuller text may